Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me. Just taking a moment to zoom in on this picture. Well, it's actually a sticker, and I stuck it to a water pitcher of mine just so that my water that I drink every day is always infused with love and gratitude. But as discussed in my last video, here is what I was talking about with the rice experiment. So going back to this picture, or this sticker, which is a picture of a water crystal that was actually from Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments. If you look at the website down at the masaru-emoto.net, you'll find most of his stuff on that website. If you want to check out his published book, Messages from Water, I believe that that's where this picture of this water crystal was taken from, and this was a water crystal, well, a water droplet that developed or formed into this beautiful water crystal. You could see all that lovely geometry. For those that are into sacred geometry, you probably know exactly what I'm trying to highlight here. But this was a water droplet that formed this beautiful water crystal when it was exposed to the words love and gratitude. And so what does that water crystal have to do with my rice experiment? Well, a lot. So Dr. Emoto had an original experiment that he did, which was just called the rice experiment. So anybody interested, super easy to look it up. The experiment that I've run here is basically the same experiment that Dr. Emoto ran. I did have a couple of adaptations that I made to my experiment. The main one that I changed was, instead of using uncooked rice submerged in water and then putting the uncooked rice in water in 3 separate jars or containers, I just made a big batch of rice. So all of these containers, they all came from the same exact batch of rice. And I didn't use any kind of special rice. It was just a cheap long grain rice, so you don't have to invest a lot of money if you want to replicate this experiment. So again, I cooked my rice, and so because it was cooked rice, it already had the water in it, so no need to add extra rice. So the water is needed, though, to basically carry out the experiment, because as you're kind of getting a little bit of the gist over here, water is going to be our main conductor of the vibrations. So in this case, we have vibration of hate, vibration of love, and vibration of ignore. And that was consistent with the original experiment. And then also the other modification that I made for my experiment was, instead of using the same terms that Dr. Emoto used in his experiment, so for his negative jar, he had "you fool" written in Japanese, of course, because he's Japanese and this was taking place in Japan. So instead of writing "you fool," I wrote "I hate you." That was the most negative thing I could think of. And then instead, the original experiment, for the positive jar, he put "thank you." I put, obviously, "I love you." And then there was an ignore jar in the original experiment. So this is the basic setup, really easy to replicate. If, again, you want to find any more information on it, you could feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy and welcome to walk anybody through it that would like to replicate the experiment. But it's also super easy to just Google and find somebody else that maybe has set it up a little bit differently, that's more just closer to what you're wanting to do with yours. The other thing I wanted to make sure to point out here is, so again, you know, all of these rice containers are containers filled with rice. All this rice came from the same cooked batch of rice. And, you know, I just want to highlight here that I started these jars, this experiment, almost 3 years ago. And we're going on 3 years of having these just literally sit in my office. So they haven't been refrigerated, nothing. They've just literally been sitting here. So here is the I Hate You jar, and I don't know if my camera is going to focus, but you know, that's disgusting. That's not something I would want to eat. It's not something I would even think bacteria would want to eat. I don't know, maybe there's some crazy bacteria out there. All right, and then here's the Ignore jar. Not much better looking than the I Hate You jar. Pretty safe to say both of those are absolutely dead. I mean, there's nothing living about those containers, or the rice that used to be in those containers. It's absolutely rotted away food, which, you know, you would kind of expect it to be, especially after 3 years, right? Well, then what's the story with this guy? Huh? How come no mold? And that little black spot that you see at the bottom, that's actually, I don't think my camera's gonna focus on that guy either. That was actually just a little bug that got into the container. And so, you know, that little guy died some time ago, but the rice didn't. It's still living food. Trying to just show all angles so that you all believe me that there's no mold in here. And I'm gonna try to pop the top off too so that you can see all the way into it. No mold. It is just super fermented is all, but there's absolutely no mold in there. Like even that little guy, that's just a really browned fermented piece of rice, but there is no mold. No mold after sitting room temperature for 3 years. Well, what the heck? How is that even possible? Could it be that the power of love really can sustain us? I don't know. Let me take a moment, turn the camera around, and let's start our chit chat on what all of this possibly means. All right. So thanks for joining me again for what is now my second video for my YouTube channel, but I kind of feel like this one is like really my official video, the last one being the intro video. So, you know, whatever. But thanks for joining me. That's the point. So, yeah, the rice experiment. Pretty cool stuff. So, what are the implications? So other than kind of going for the low-hanging fruit and pointing out what I feel like are the obvious implications as far as, you know, the power of love, the power of hate, positive, negative, being not just a thing, like as far as, you know, positive energy, negative energy, not just being a thing, meaning like a phrase that's just used in our vernacular because it's cool sounding. Like, for example, what I'm trying to say is like back in the 60s, from what I understand anyways, I'm not a 60s child. My parents were, so they could probably correct me if I'm wrong. But like, the big, one of the big words, parts of the language for that time was, the vibes, man. It's all about the vibes and feeling good vibes and good vibrations and not wanting to feel bad vibes. Well, it's funny because that phrase is definitely coming, or not phrase, but word is coming back around. And like just the other day, I saw a t-shirt that said good vibes only. And I was like, heck yeah, dig that. But, that generic sort of, use of the word vibes, energy, this is real stuff. And so this is one of the coolest things that I find that the rice experiment just outright displays, wide open. What am I trying to say? It just displays very well. That's what I'm trying to say. It displays with clarity. Like, there's no ignoring when you look at those rice jars that there is a distinct massive difference between the jars, right? Like, you can't deny that. It's in your face. It's as plain as day. Okay, so, besides going over the obvious implications between positive, negative words, energy, vibrations, I also would like to take a moment to point out the ignore jar. Because even talking about a positive, negative vibrations, frequencies there, and I actually hope to get into that kind of stuff more in depth, probably some video later on down the road. But for now, I wanted to take the time to more highlight in this video, showing my rice experiment, the ignore jar, because I think that that is something that says a lot about the sort of default program, if you will, for this thing we call reality. And I also think it says a lot as to if we're maybe seeking healing, seeking personal growth, seeking spiritual growth, and we're maybe getting hung up somewhere, or we're not getting the breakthrough that we're looking for. It could be that something is being ignored. It's not being looked at. And when things are ignored, it seems to me that the rice experiment is trying to show us that the default is it will decay. It will rot. It will turn into basically the same soup that the I hate you jar turned into. So, just take a minute and let that sink in. The ignore jar seems to change into the same mucky yuckiness as the I hate you jar. So, I'm not sure where I've heard this. Could be a Chinese proverb. I honestly, I can't place it, but I know that I've heard somewhere that it has been said that it is better to give something negative attention than to give something no attention at all. And I think wherever that saying comes from, it's based in a similar wisdom as to what the rice experiment is trying to show us. That just ignoring something is just as bad as giving something negative energy, but perhaps it's maybe even worse. And what's interesting is when I initially did the rice experiment, like initiating it 3 years ago, I do recall, and I think I have pictures somewhere. If I can find them, I'll try to link it to this video and post a picture. The ignore jar, if I remember correctly, actually started getting moldy first, even before the I hate you jar. I was like, wow, that is interesting. I would have assumed, the I hate you jar would have started going bad first. Nope, I'm pretty sure it was the ignore jar. So, not to beat a dead horse, but like that's some profound stuff, right? Like, if you can take in the implications of that in your own personal or spiritual growth, that I have no doubt will help you gain miles. If we could digest that as a society, whether I'm talking about us Americans or us Earthlings, that is powerful, because if we're trying to make change, right, like we all know that, giving negative energy, more amplification, more energy, that doesn't help. Neither does ignoring. So, or at least that's what I'm reading from what the rice experiment is trying to show us. So, what do we do? What do we go from there? I'm not sure. I'm just one person. But if, just one person at a time can take away what the message is, like Dr. Emoto said, the messages from water, the messages from the rice experiment. If, we can start taking the implications, but applying them to not just our daily lives, but how we interact with our society, how we engage maybe even politically, and doing fulfilling our civic duties. That seems to usually be a pattern that younger generations are kind of the mindset, and I get it. I was there once too. I'm young. What does voting matter? That's for other people. Politics don't affect me. Kind of like or at least I used to tell myself those kinds of things. But no, like ignoring is just as bad as hate. That's what I get from it anyways. So please don't ignore. Please give something that is needing attention in your life, the attention, even just a little bit of attention that it's trying to get. And, I know a lot of the times our stuff, like not even talking spiritual growth, just personal growth, relationship growth, trying to survive. Like, sometimes it could just be overwhelming and like, no, I'm tired of working on that. I've been down that road so many times. Well, just maybe go again. Maybe you missed something, but it's better to go down the path again and to really make sure you didn't miss something than to just, I'm just going to ignore that. It's fine. It's going to take care of itself. I don't think it's going to take care of itself. And I think for a lot of us, that is what ends up being our sort of nail in the coffin as far as doing healing work, is if, we're just wanting the healing work to feel good, and to, lift us up and make us feel good and which there's appropriateness for that too, of course. But, growing is a painful process. We experience that in our physical bodies when we're growing. It's painful at times. It kind of freaking sucks. Like, I used to be kept up hours sometimes, you know, trying to sleep because of growing pains, and I highly doubt I'm the only one. I'm not even that tall. But it's more harmful to ignore. That's what I get from it anyways. So don't want to beat a dead horse. I think I've kind of touched on all the points that I was wishing, my goal, objectives. I don't know, words. But yeah, I think that's kind of it. And I hope that I've covered this enough to at least maybe interest some of you to looking into it for yourself, maybe even replicating the experiment. If anybody has any questions on the experiment, from production to something that you're in the process of doing it and something's going wrong, you could always feel free to reach out. I will do my best to get back with you as soon as I can. And so yeah, I was really looking forward to doing this video, to displaying my rice experiment, my almost 3-year-old baby. And which I know it's weird to have like rotting rice sitting in your office, but I do it to leave an imprint, and to get people talking about it and asking questions like, what's up with that? You've got some funky containers over there that look like they're rotting. And it's like, yeah, because a couple of them are. But check this one out, the I love you jar. It's not. It's living food. It's pretty profound stuff. So anyways, I was super excited. I couldn't wait to do this video, so that's why I had to do this one first. All right, I'm gonna stop it there. Shut my mouth before I get too carried away. All right, aloha. We'll see you guys next time. Real quick, I am not gonna have a video posting for next week unless something changes and I can get extra productive by the end of the week and get another video recorded, because I'm gonna be on vacation for spring break, and I'm gonna be in the mountains where we don't get any service, and it's gonna be awesome. So I'm super excited. I don't know if you guys could tell. All right, and I'm still, I'm recording all of this on my camera phone. I'm still working on getting my actual like camera gear set up and a little bit more established on the technical equipment side. All right, so sorry I keep shaking the camera. I'm so bad at this, but let me know how I did. At least, you know, maybe some kind remarks of like, yay, it was a little bit better, not so many ums. I don't know. I'll probably rewatch this and find like 50 ums. All right. Mercury retrograde, we're coming out of it. All right, that's it. Aloha, we'll see y'all later. I didn't do too bad this time. It was pretty tame. Okay, see you next time, guys. Bye. Oh, to get back to next video upload though, so it'll probably be a couple weeks. I said all that to say it'll be a little bit. I won't have a video next week. At least I don't think. Okay. Aloha.